I wanted to talk a little bit about things that are going on right now and how can you navigate it? How can you best navigate all the things that are going on in the world? My team right now is in Boise, Idaho. Very first time that we've ever got to be there. So absolutely amazing. Reagan, wow, good to see you, Reagan. It's been a long time. I hope you're doing really well, and I hope Tony's doing amazing as well. Really good to see you here. You know, it's trippy. My team is in Boise, Idaho, and I don't know if it's Boise itself or the entire state of Idaho. They basically made it so that masks are optional now. Everything's open. One of our team members is in Texas as well as one of my clients, and he was informing me that pretty much everything's going to be going back to what he called normal. He's like, whatever that is, but it's like the world seems to be kind of going back to, all right, things are going to be amazing again. And yet, I still hear from my clients that a lot of their team members, a lot of their family members still are having some anxiety around it, are having a little bit of negative emotions. And I want to talk about the importance of letting go of baggage and the ease of letting go of baggage. Those of you who are master practitioners, you know this, and it's just going to be a good refresher. Those of you who are new or have only done the practitioner training, you got to see an MER demo, you understand the importance of that. I want to give you some tips and some things that you can do. Those of you that have never done any trainings with us, there are still some resources for you. And really, there are 4 things that you have to do to create change in your life. If you want to change, if you want to become empowered as an individual, there are 4 things you have to do. The first thing is really simple. You got to be free of your baggage. You have to let go of any negative emotions, limiting beliefs that you have. And unfortunately, the Western world has perpetuated the idea that letting go of baggage is difficult, when in actuality, it's easy. It's one of the easiest steps. The second thing that you have to do to create change is put a goal out there. I'm not talking about that today. I got a lot of wonderful webinars on that. Check out our YouTube channel if you want to see more information on that. Third thing is taking action. Action is so important. With the bulk of my clients, that's where they have the difficulty, right? Letting go of baggage, easy. Taking action. Every day, waking up, working out, doing the next day, working out, waking up, and just consistently showing up with a daily philosophy. And that is where a lot of work needs to be done. And the final requisite is maintaining your focus. Like, how do you keep a positive focus on everything that's going on? And you got to do them in that order. You must do them in that order. So you got to first of all check, do you have any baggage? Do you have negative emotions? As a quick reminder, you know you have baggage. Those of you who are taking notes, this is important because you have to know which one of these should you do. Should I let go of negative emotions? Should I focus in on my goal? Should I be taking action right now? Or should I be including action includes enforcing boundaries? Or should I be doing a reframe and rethinking how the world is? You know you have baggage if your emotional response is out of proportion to the external experience. If your emotional response is out of proportion, then you know you have baggage. That is so important because sometimes it's not baggage. Sometimes it's just you being human. If you see something that's sad or you are talking with someone and they share something with you that's powerful and you get emotional, that may not be baggage. It may just be you having emotions in the moment. If someone loses a loved one or a pet and you get sad, that's emotions in the moment. You have to learn how to navigate that. If someone yells at you because you're not wearing a mask, that happened to one of my clients. He's like, and I got irritated. Do I have baggage? And I'm like, I don't know. Do you have baggage? And he said, no, the guy was being a jerk. And I said, perfect. No baggage. It's emotions in the moment. You know you have baggage because your emotional response is out of proportion. It's that whole proverbial don't cry over spilt milk. It's like you as an individual have an experience, and in that experience you have an emotional response. Well, emotions are magnetic. They're very magnetic. So if you get irritated at someone out there and you have anger, irritation in the moment, it acts like a magnet. It draws up all of the other irritation and anger that you have, and your reaction becomes the sum total of the anger in the moment and all the rest of the baggage that you have. That's when you're blowing up for no reason. That's when you're like, you see red and you're blowing up. You also know that you have baggage if your mind goes to the past. So these are the 2 things that I teach at Prac and at Master Prac. You know that you have baggage if your mind goes to the past. If you're having an experience in a job and you see your boss acting a certain way, and all of a sudden you went, oh, that's how my last boss was, and the boss before that, and the boss before that. If you are, my kids are both teenagers. Well, Ethan's 21. That's like a 21-year-old teenager. Skylar is a teenager. She's 14. And Skylar the other day was being a teenager. Amazing. I love my kids, really connected. She comes to me with her problems, and she was being a little bit of a teenager. And for a half a second, I was like, oh, I went through this with Ethan. And I'm like, Skylar's not Ethan. Skylar has different chromosomes. She's not Ethan. She's my daughter. She's 7 years younger. She's going through different things. I'm gonna handle the situation as is, as opposed to here we go again. So you have baggage if your mind goes to the past, or if your emotional response is out of proportion, and that's when you need a release technique. If you've done practitioner trainings with us, sometimes the release technique is parts integration. You got to integrate conflicting parts. Sometimes it's just raw emotion. Now, if the emotion is attached to someone, that's where I recommend Ho'oponopono. If the emotion is connected, like if my thoughts went to Ethan while Skylar was having her moment, well, I would do Ho'oponopono with Ethan. If I just have raw emotions in the moment, that's where my best recommendation is MER, mental and emotional release. It's the technique that we have clinical research. Thank you, Dr. Patrick Scott, for the clinical research on that. The technique comes from our school, and he studied it at his clinic, put it up against CBT, and MER came out as being 100% effective in the treatment of depression. You can read my book titled Mental and Emotional Release. And you read that book, the study's right in there. Also the study, and I don't get to talk about this study very often, in Jamaica. Dr. Rose, who's one of my students, Dr. Rose Johnson, an amazing woman. She'd been my student for well over a decade. God. Next time Rose pops on one of the Facebook Lives or the webinars, I'll be like, Rose, when did you take your first training? I'm pretty sure it was like 2006, 2007. So she's a university professor, psychologist, and writing your dissertation is, the word dissertation comes from the Latin word hell. It takes some work. And she was working with her group, the people that she was guiding, and one of them, her name is Tracy. And Tracy was wanting to get her research approved and kept getting pushed back. That happened to me too. It happens to you when you're becoming a doctor. You get sometimes pushback on your research. And Rose took her through MER, let go of her baggage, and do the anxiety model. So she put something positive out there in the future. And Tracy leaned back and said, what if I want to study this? So Rose got on the phone with me. She's like, I need you to be the subject matter expert. That means that I was the doctor that was in charge of making sure that the subject that she was doing, MER, was accurate. And the research got approved, and she did MER with at-risk youth. Kids who were in 8th grade, and they all scored below 30% on the grade 9 aptitude test. That's a fancy way of saying they weren't going to make it through high school. They had a control group and they had the MER group. Control group did not get MER. They just got regular, like I think it was just talk therapy counseling. The group that got the MER, if I remember correctly, they all have gone on to graduate from high school or get jobs, and they stopped fighting. Rose and Tracy said to me they got change, like behavioral change, that psychology textbooks say it's not even possible. The research was so impactful on the families, on the kids, on the teachers, that Rose has submitted it to the Minister of Health, and she was like lobbying, petitioning for MER to be mandatory on all kids, because she showed that like their fighting stopped, their anger was gone. One of the kids, I read these the journals where they write out, here's what I'm experiencing, and this one kid said, my entire life everyone has said to me, I will never amount to anything. He's like, you know what? I don't feel that way anymore. I feel amazing. I feel like I can do something with my hands, and I know I can make something of my life. I'm not going to listen to them anymore. And it brought tears to my eyes. One of the moms came and talked to Dr. Tracy and said, Tracy, it's like you're giving me my son back. He has gone through so much, and the changes that I got to read about, just so amazing. And it really motivated me, not just to write the book, because I wrote the book after study. That study is also in the book. It really does motivate me to do what I do, and we as a company are motivated by this very concept. In this last training that I attended, I did an MER demonstration with a woman who had a phobia of balloons. That may not seem like a big deal to you, yet it really impacted her life and her kid's life. And letting go of that, I have a picture of the two of us holding a balloon together. I should pop that up on Facebook. It was incredible to watch her transform through that. She came up to me afterwards and she said, I feel so different. Anxiety is a big one right now. Anxiety is a big one. Anxiety is you having something in your future ending negatively. And with everything that we have going on, with COVID, with all of the things that are happening with whatever state you're in, whatever province, country that you're in, because we have students all across the world. Anton, who was just in my Huna Facebook Live, he's in Canada. Tomoy, if it's not too early, she's probably logged in from Japan. And I have Andoni, and I got students from all around the world. And we're all dealing with different things, whether that's issues at home, whether it is issues with your kids, like having teenagers, or just navigating what are you going to do as things begin to ramp back up again? How are we going to get moving again? And it's really important to have something positive out there in the future. I'm not talking about a goal. I'm talking about zero anxiety. To be able to be ponno, to be able to feel congruent, that you're going to be able to navigate this path. So the anxiety model is really simple. What you do is, first of all, MER is based on the idea that you have a timeline. A timeline is the past, now, and future. And William James in the Principles of Psychology, written well over 100 years ago, referenced it. Aristotle talked about it. Cognitive psychology uses the concept of a timeline where at the unconscious level, you have a construction of all of your past events, what you're doing now, and the future. The anxiety model is really simple. You close your eyes and you imagine that you're looking through your own eyes, if you're doing this visually, and you float up above your timeline 15 minutes after the successful completion of the event. You see, anxiety is just a warning from the unconscious mind that you have something bad ending in the future, that you have some event ending badly. The anxiety model has you go out past the event and imagine it ending in the most successful way. Now, I had one client say to me, but Dr. Matt, bad things happen. I'm like, that's right, bad things do happen. I would say, like, companies shut down, but now I can say the world can shut down. Yes, bad things can happen, you have no control over it. And having something in your future timeline ending negatively, does that increase the chances of positive or decrease? And she said, well, it decreases. I said, okay, well, having something negative in your future, does that increase the chances of something negative happening? And she said, yes, absolutely. I said, great. Put something positive out there in the future. And then what you do is you have to deal with issues as they come up. If you have something negative in the future, it absolutely increases the chances of it ending badly. On our app, the anxiety is going to be free now. So I'll double check with Jessica. We'll make sure that we put it out there. I would highly recommend doing the anxiety model. We don't, as a team, do the anxiety model, and yet we do something very similar. We circle up at the beginning of every training, like I'm sure my team did in Boise, circle up and visualize the most positive thing happening in that event. You see the group photo, you see any anxiety that we would have about navigating and, working the path of teaching. So highly recommend the anxiety model. Those of you who have done Master Prac, well, you have MER. Those of you who have done Prac, you have the resources either on the app, you can get the book if you haven't done so. And if this is your first time experiencing it, check out our app. Go type in NLP on iPhone or Android, and it will bring up the app and check out the anxiety model. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Aloha, ahui ho.